The 9/11 incident again. Went all the way out. Searched every place. Looked everywhere. But America knew what they were going to do. Truth was told. And did people know this? That in the year 2000, as soon as the millennium rolled over, every country was getting up worshiping all the different spirits that they believe in. Had it on a little side off channel in the Midwest. I think it was channel 24.1 or something like that, or channel 23. And they showed it all day long. And they had a place where you can order this to see all these different, even Bjork was singing in Iceland, worshiping different types of gods. And you notice what's happening now, that now in Norway they're going back to worshiping the old gods. So they're changing things. Things are going back to a different time. But in all of this hard work, it turns out the accusations were an internal attack at the 9/11 incident. But that building came down of itself. It wasn't because of a plane. Those people were deliberately sacrificed. That was deliberate. But we killed a man simply because he said he doesn't know who did it, but he doesn't have a problem with the one who did. Yet you got Korea making threats to send nuclear bombs, and you want to make a truce with them. And you got Russia over here threatening things, and you want to make a truce with them. But you search after third world countries, and those are the only ones you go after. I don't get it though, but I do know one thing is for certain: the Arabians or the Ishmaelites. When God made that promise to Abraham that every man's hand will be against him and his hand will be against every man, he has not broken his word at all. He has not broken his word at all. But that's a covenant of flesh. That means he'll always have warriors to fight and warriors to bleed. He's always going to fight against nations stronger than him. He'll deal with nations that are equal with him, but I doubt if anybody is weaker than him, because he's probably got enough sense to strengthen them to work with him. So this is all an endless struggle. But you know what? I'm going to say one thing. Someone once taught me, grow in the dirt that they planted you in. And it was Jesus Christ whose Father spoke of him, saying that he was a root that grew up out of dry ground. Is God the greatest alchemist? Yes. Because he's the creator of our conditions, period. He's the one that created our conditions. But the one thing he did not do was create sin. That's the one thing that Yahweh did not create, was sin. And there's a lot of people out here, folks out here, that love comic books. Let me break something open for you. In the Marvel edition, 616 is an O. Yahweh is not a man who has tripolar disorder, and his son Jesus Christ no longer has the crown of thorns on his head, and he does not take antidepressants. Yahweh was a dark-skinned person, the human. Jesus Christ was dark-skinned. You know, I even have that on my Facebook page, what somebody's depiction of him is, only based upon what was written, wearing the Urim and the Thummim, which is the 12 stones of the tribes of Jacob around his neck, and a certain symbol of authority upon his body, and he's girded, and he also wields the six-pointed star, which is the key of David, which is the key of knowledge. And there are many tribal lineages that are being taught. We're not awakening. God is waking us up. The world would say we're reaching an awakening point. No, God is waking us up. There was a commercial we had back in the 80s. It was white boys and black boys. They all had paper bags on their head. And nobody looked at each other through those eyes to judge them. They were always going to be friends no matter what. The world was in color. Until one day a wind blew through while they were talking. And it blew off all the paper bags, and suddenly what was once now color became black and white. And the white people stood on one side, and the black boy stood on the other side. And the first thing people said was, let's put the bag on racism. Your eyes are the most easily deceived. But I'm going to break it down for you. When you see a serpent, two serpents intertwined, know this one thing is for certain. There's nowhere in the Bible where God talks about two serpents intertwined representing the Holy Spirit. Nowhere. That's a male and a female. And as long as they're happy, they'll make the rest of the world happy. But the serpent that was in the wilderness was a single snake upon a staff. And all who looked upon it would be healed of the poisonous bite of some very fiery serpents that God stepped aside for and allowed an evil spirit to punish and chastise Israel. Now the snake bite was supposed to be fatal, but God knew how to stop that spirit. Stop, you did enough. Now I'm going to tell the rest of them what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the poison from spreading, but it's still inside of them. Make this serpent, Moses, and all who look upon it shall live.